Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Happy Tuesday, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Hope you're having a good time and you're marinating in a Packers victory. Yeah, you can still do that 2 days out. It's okay. We'll allow it. Packers off today, at least from practice. The coaches hard at work, drawing up plans and schemes and ways to beat the Minnesota Vikings, who come to town on Sunday at Lambeau Field for the first of 3 straight divisional matchups. The meat of the schedule has arrived, people. Everything before this moment has been precursor to what essentially will determine the Packers season. And I know it's been a lot of ups and downs, inconsistencies, stretches of good play followed by stretches of frustrating play, but man, it all starts now. And where else would you rather be? The Packers are in prime position at 6-3-1 to take control of the division here in the back half with 3 divisional games in a row, and then most of the division games packed into the back half of this season. Man, beautiful time. This is the best time of year. This is the best time to be a Packers fan. Lap it up, because before you know it, you're going to blink and it's going to be like March, and we're going to be talking about draft prospects and going to be bored to tears and wishing we had Packers football to watch. So here it is, people, the good stuff. That's what we're about to embark on. And look, as you can see by the title of this video and the description, I wanted to talk about the offensive line. But before I get to that, and we will talk about it, I did want to alert the internet, if you have not seen it, if you're not on social media. One, Jaden Reed posted this just a bit ago, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what it means, but it's him in a uniform. Is he ready? Is he going to be practicing tomorrow? We'll find out. Stay tuned. But man, that's exciting stuff that Jaden Reed is back at practice and they open his 21-day practice window. Don't suspect we'll see him probably in the next 2 games. A short turnaround after Sunday there in Detroit on Thursday. I'd be very surprised if we saw Jaden Reed on the field for either of those contests. But that 3rd divisional matchup in a couple weeks, maybe. We'll see. But the fact that he, as Matt LaFleur indicated, has a possibility of getting back out on the practice field sooner rather than later. Exciting stuff. To get Jaden Reed back with this offense would be big time. But of course, the receivers can only do so much, and they have to be allowed to get downfield to make these plays, and that is where the offensive line comes in. And going back over the tape and looking at the offensive line against the Giants, there were good things. There were some really nice performances. There were also a couple of guys who struggled. But the one who I thought had probably his best game of the year was Aaron Banks, the much maligned free agent signing. Now, I think most of the good work that he did was in the run game. And it just so happens that they were going up against one of the, if not the worst run defense in the league, in the Giants defense. So you would hope he'd be able to have a good game in that regard. And he most certainly did. It's certainly something that they should be able to build on. And I do think as the game went along, the interior settled in pretty nicely, including Sean Ryan starting at center for the first time. Certainly, there are a lot of clips out there you've probably already seen of him getting abused, essentially, by Dexter Lawrence. But there are a lot of guys who've been abused by Dexter Lawrence over the course of his career. But again, I do think, especially in the second half, they seem to have settled in and at least found a way of operating and allowing Jordan Love in the offense to kind of get moving and at least operate the offense. And Lord knows it's only going to get tougher. This Vikings defense coming in on Sunday also has, funnily enough, struggled against the run. That has not been their forte this year. But as I'm sure anyone who watches any amount of NFL football knows, they have an incredible pressure package and multiple pressure packages, and they have an excellent way of confusing not just quarterbacks, but offensive lines and protection schemes and taking advantage of what you've put on film already. This is going to be a very stiff test, and it is for the protection scheme, and it's the protection unit, not just the offensive line, the backs, the tight ends, and yes, the quarterback and his timing and getting it out and IDing stuff and knowing where his hot read is, where his solutions are against pressure. It is going to be a very different test and a very tough test for this offensive line. I'm excited. They at least have a decent performance to build off of, but make no mistake, even playing at home, this is going to be a tough one. And here's hoping they can continue to run the ball at least a little bit. I know Josh Jacobs will get some kind of update hopefully tomorrow with the first injury report. Feels like a kind of a 50-50 proposition if he'll even go. Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks got to be ready, but that offensive line is the group that's going to have to do the most important work. Let's just call a spade a spade. Everything else is great, but if it doesn't start up front, it's not going to go very far. So here's hoping they start kind of picking up a little bit of steam up front. Got a group now that's played one game together. Let's get to game 2. Keep stacking success, as Mike McCarthy liked to put it. Hopefully, this unit can gel and really become a force for good, as it were, down the stretch here these last 7-8 games. What's going on, everybody? Good to see everybody in the comment section. Lots of people already mixing it up. Thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Before we get going, I got to give a shout out to our friends over at ThedaCare. ThedaCare is a proud sponsor of Cheesehead TV. Before kickoff, huddle up with ThedaCare. They say defense wins championships. In life, ThedaCare is your first line of defense against illness and injury. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay in the game. Proud sponsor of Cheesehead TV, ThedaCare. All right, folks, what's going on? What do we got here? We got Ed. How are you, sir? Do the Packers have a team psychiatrist, and does he tell the receivers to catch the ball? I believe the coaches are the ones who will be telling the players to catch the ball, but they do have mental health services available to the players. I don't know if it's an official team psychiatrist. I know they've had a sports psychiatrist on staff in the past. I'm not sure if they still do, but I do know there are services available to the players. Don Vito, what's going on, man? Remember former Packer legend quarterback Jay Cutler? People knocked his demeanor, but Love has the same sort of demeanor. What's the difference? And I love Love, by the way. Just an honest question. I kind of get what you're saying, but I never get the sense that Jordan Love doesn't give a shit and could be anywhere else and be happy any given moment in a football game. The Smoking Jay Cutler meme became a thing because it felt like Jay could take it or leave it at any point. Like if Jay Cutler had just packed it up after a series and just gone to the locker room and changed, like Devondre Campbell style, I wouldn't have been surprised. That was to me a pretty significant difference from Jordan, who you can still see very much cares and wants to win each and every down. And yes, when a rep goes poorly, he's able to flush it and move on. But I don't get the same sort of detachment from Love. I get the cold-mindedness, the ability to move on from a bad play, but I certainly don't get a lack of caring about it. Maybe it's a finite difference. Maybe that's just my interpretation or view of it, but I certainly don't get a redo of the Smoking Jay Cutler meme. That's just me. Your mileage may vary. Mike Witt, how are you, sir? I hope the wide receivers and for God's sake, the DBs are working out with the jugs machine this week. I had someone in my Instagram messages saying that they needed to bring back the man hands drill, where the receivers, I think it was when Devontae was still in town, where they would just like legit be right next to the machine and having it fire at like an insane rate to test their hands and build up, essentially callous their hands so they were used to just catching it no matter what. I don't know if that's the route they go, but you would think there would probably be some extra drill work this week in light of the last couple games. It's not just that Giants game. They dropped a bunch against the Eagles as well. So they certainly got some work to do there this week. Absolutely. Have a Zach. How are you, sir? Thanks for the super chat. Nags, just wanted to say, love listening to each new episode of Carry the G Radio on Spotify and Go Pack Go. Well, thank you so much for checking it out. I always forget to mention that fact that it is on Spotify or any platform service that you may utilize each and every day of your life. Carry the G Radio is available as a podcast. Billy and I, and now Armin, are always in the mix every week, and it's a lot of fun. And yes, you can catch us live on YouTube, but you can always listen to the podcast afterwards. You can catch it here on the Packers Daily stream on Spotify, or you can subscribe to the Carry the G Radio specific podcast stream. And that one has no ads. If you're looking for an ad-free experience, that's the way to go. Really appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you so much. Surfin says, I was watching the Packers and Giants on Sunday, and the Giants fan statement that injuries are high due in their stadium due to the concrete turf. Yeah, well, don't get David Bakhtiari started on that. It is a horrible playing surface, and certainly there have been a number of guys who have called it out over the years. Mostly ownership, NFL ownership doesn't hold any of their fellow owners to account, or their feet to the fire, as it were, when it comes to the playing surfaces. So I don't see anything changing. Don't forget, I mean, they're putting grass. They put grass in this past summer for the Club World Cup, which was won by Chelsea. Thanks very much. And then turned it back into their bullshit concrete surface. Now it's not concrete, but it is hard as hell, and they're going to put grass in for the World Cup this upcoming summer or next summer, 2026, and then go back to their bullshit surface. It's terrible, man. Adam Rice, thanks to the super chat. Wasn't there a lot of O-line problems in the first half of 2023? They seem to have gotten it on track in the second half of that season. Yes, Adam, I don't remember it being quite as inconsistent. There were certainly issues at times. This year has been a little different, mostly because of the inconsistency, especially in the ground game. But you're not wrong. And hell, even going back to last year, it's not like they came out of the gate gangbusters running the ball, and they did find their groove as the season went along. I think they found it a little earlier than this, in week 11 or so. But you're not wrong about 2023. They did struggle to run the ball early in that season. That is very, very true. So my, contention has always been they just need a group to play together. They keep having guys bounce in and out. And now that's part of the gig. No one gives a crap about injuries. That you got to produce, next man up, etc. They were really lucky in that regard in 2024. This year, obviously, it's been the exact opposite. But if they could just get a couple of weeks in with the same 5, or maybe even 6 if you're counting Kennard now with that heavy formation they're utilizing, and just get some reps together, I think they could start to do some good stuff. I really do. But we'll see, and hopefully you're right, man. Hopefully they turn it around and on, much like they did in 2023. Rob, what's up? Bring back Ryan Grant. Ryan Grant was in the house on Sunday, and I didn't know it until afterwards. If I would have thought of it, I would have reached out to him. I love Ryan. Some of the best football conversations I've ever had were with Ryan Grant. Dan, how are you, sir? Perhaps get James Jones to coach this group up. I never saw improvement like I saw him accomplish in a year. James did do a phenomenal job of kind of eliminating the drops, but a lot of these guys throughout the years have. I mean, Devontae had real issues there his second season. Jordy had monster issues with drops his rookie year. There have been plenty of guys through the door at 1265 who have gotten better in this regard. And I know we all talk about, ex-players or former players coming in to coach, but 99.9% of the time, most of those guys aren't interested in coming in and coaching in any real capacity. The coaching's a grind. And a lot of guys, once they're done playing, they want to go on and do other stuff. So I don't think there'll be any former players coming in, but certainly something the coaches are going to harp on this week in particular. Random Packer, Wesley Walls. There you go. That's shout out Wesley Walls for that phenomenal touchdown catch the evening Favre played after his father passed down there, or out there in was it Oakland, I believe? No, it was an outstanding touchdown catch. Menace. I don't understand how the NFLPA can negotiate higher salaries, less practice time, only 4 padded practices every decade, and every other thing a union can, but can't get all grass turf league wide. Well, because that it all depends on what you think you can get from ownership as far as your bargaining chips and your gives go. When they wanted something in the last major CBA, not during the pandemic, but the last major CBA negotiation, D. Smith and the guys, they really fought hard to get more time away from football for the guys in the offseason in particular. But then also, yes, limited padded practice time and all of that. And they succeeded. But that's because it was a real easy give for the owners. They don't give a shit about the level of play. They don't the quality of the football. We're all watching regardless. The coaches hated it, but the coaches are the one group that doesn't have a union. So it was an easy give. Now you start talking about mandating grass fields, all 30 stadiums, then that gets into their pocketbook, right? And just for whatever reason, that's a much harder sell for the players union to go after, because at some point there's probably going to be a pain point where they're going to have to miss paychecks or miss games to drive that point home. And with, careers being so short in the NFL, it's always really hard to galvanize your constituency, the players, to, okay, be content with, okay, we're going to have to miss some time here to get what we want. When you're if you're asking the NFL to give away stuff that they don't care about, that's easy. But the moment you start saying, well, we want you spending X amount of money on our playing fields, well, then the league will, pretty much dig in. And then it's a test of wills. And at that point, the players almost always cave. They're never going to have the fortitude across the PA, across all of their members, to really make that stand. And the NFL, the league totally counts on it. It sucks, but that is true. Mike Witt, thanks again, man. Loved you and Billy's Jordan discussion today on Carry the G Radio. I guess I just get frustrated because he can play so good sometimes and then play like he did versus the Panthers, Eagles. Thanks, Nags. See, I don't think he played very poorly against the Panthers or Eagles. The outcome was unfortunate, no question about it. And he had a very boneheaded pick against the Panthers. But on balance, in both of those games, I thought he played decidedly well. The outcome wasn't what you wanted, but he played well. I just look around the league and look at all the other quarterback performances and I'll be like, how can you not understand how good Jordan Love is? That's where I'm at. But I get that perception. It is a results-based business, and the results aren't there. You're not putting up big numbers. You're not putting up touchdowns. People are going to wonder. I get that. I understand. I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation. Billy and I did get after it a little bit this morning. It was good. If you guys missed it, definitely check it out. Nicholas, what's up, man? What's Matt like behind closed doors? Not unlike what he is in front of open doors. He is all ball, man. First time I ever spoke with him away from the facility was at the combine. And, we talked for a good 10 minutes. And I have tried to steer the conversation to anything other than football. Yeah, it's not happening. He is all ball through and through, which is great. That's what you want from your football coach, right? But yeah, what he's like behind closed doors, quote unquote, is exactly what he's like in front of the camera. Same guy. Adam, what's going on, man? Wanted to say I loved your story about the Beat having drinks with LaFleur. I would give a kidney to have a beer with him and talk off the record. It's, I got to admit, for a kid who grew up in Wisconsin, love the Packers all my life. Certainly, I'd be lying if I didn't say, yeah, it's a bit surreal when you're in a moment like that. And you're thinking, what would 5-year-old, 8-year-old Aaron think of this? Like, yeah, it's pretty surreal. Matthew, how are you, sir? If I were falsely imprisoned in a foreign country and could only call one person to get me out, I would call Malik Willis. Oh, we need a Netflix special. We need some kind of movie made of this. I mean, 100. Have you flicked through Netflix anytime recently, or even HBO Max or whatever? Man, they're making anything nowadays. Come on, we can get this made. I love this idea, Matthew. Let's go. Falsely imprisoned in a foreign country, he had one call to make. He knew exactly who to call. Dun-dun-dun, Malik Willis. Dun-dun-dun, Malik Willis. Dun-dun-dun. That's the intro. I love it. I'm all in. Oh, Carrie Bishop. Here we go. Hey, Nags, I'm trying really hard not to pile on Musgrave. I realize he is not a blocking tight end. However, if coaches could just come up with a drill where he catches a ball and a coach smacks him with a big pad and yells, "Stay on your feet, run!" Thoughts? Carrie, you're assuming they haven't tried this. I'm sure they have. At some point, he is who he is. He could be a receiving threat, but that's about it, man. He is not a guy you want in there, trying to root guys out in the run game. Certainly not going to be adept at pass pro. He's not a guy you want as your kind of outlet in the flat to take punishment. He's a receiving downfield threat. That is where he should be able to excel. Until they utilize him like that, they're just kind of wasting time. Hova, what's up? Also, shout out from Sheboygan here. We carry the G. All right, Sheboygan, land of my birth. What's What's going on, Sheboygan? Good to hear from you. Joe, how are you, sir? Vikings have 26 sacks and no player with more than 4. Pressure can come from anywhere. Hope the interior offensive line is ready for anything. Legit, exactly what I began with, Joe. This is going to be a monster test, and not just for the offensive line, the entire operation. Protection across the board is going to have to be on lock each and every down. Absolutely correct. Cheeto, what's going on, man? Did you notice a change in 2 tight end formations? I don't know about a monster change. They certainly utilized them a few times on Sunday. I will say I was heartened to see the return of the bootleg off of zone action, off a 2 tight end set. That was exciting. But as far as like significant changes, not really. They were running most of their regular stuff. Brian, how are you, sir? Welcome to enemy territory. Vikings fan here. Love your content. Know thy enemy. Vikings Packers weeks are the best. Enjoy the game. Brian, are you a sleeper agent? What the hell? This is so nice. What? I don't trust it, man. Brian, I appreciate it. I don't trust it. And speaking of the Vikings, I'm going to be on with Matthew Collier tomorrow. So if you watch his content or listen to it at all, I'll be chopping it up with him tomorrow on his channel. It's going to be a good time. Oh, Norman, hell yes. How are you, buddy? Hope you had a great time at the game. Green Bay comes to Denver in a few weeks. I'm pumped. Dude, I loved being at the game. I will say, that Denver game is going to be tough. That defense, that's legit, man. That is going to be very, very stiff competition for the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, but I know you being there is going to be the difference. That's what I'm counting on. Let's go. Mike, thanks again, man. Ben Sims revenge game Sunday? LOL, just kidding. I mean, the incestuous nature between the Packers roster and the Vikings roster should be studied over the course of many decades, all going back to Gilbert Brown being the first true defector, going the right way. Absolutely love it. Joey, what's up? Thanksgiving is November 27th. Guaranteed win. Go Pack Go. Only if the Packers score 27 points, but I like where your head's at. Don Vito, how are you, sir? Who loves it more, Matt LaFleur with his end arounds or Love off his back foot? Oh, it's got to be Love off his back foot. Can I just say, though, hey, they had some end around action on Sunday in New York, and it was pretty damn successful. Pretty good. Not too shabby, and he didn't spam it. Just sprinkled it in. It looked good. Nothing wrong with that. All right, buddy, I got to get going. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Patreon members, Carry the G Club members, don't forget happy hour at the top of the hour. The information is on your respective pages. Everybody else, please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.